Hello, everyone. So I heard this crowd will be the best in Zurich ever. So, and you like to interact. So yeah, happy for introducing me. Maybe some of the designers over here can also relate to me. When I started with this business, I always liked the idea of changing people's life for the better by design. And maybe we make a little QA. So who of you has the same feeling and had the same idea of starting in this design business to improve people's lives? So maybe you can raise your hands if you do it for this reason. So yeah, a lot. So, and for me, it was user-centered design that really kicked me at the beginning, where I thought, okay, I also come from the time where we built Flash websites and no one thought about UX design and user experience and stuff like this. It just should look great. But yeah, this user-centered design really made sense for me. And over the past years, I guess no one is discussing if this makes sense for the world and makes sense to create great products. But the last years, I personally discovered that user-centered design, to be honest, is a little fucked up today. And it came to a tipping point. I guess the idea is great, but it came to a tipping point where it really needs to change. And I tried to understand why and went a little back and wanted to understand, okay, when came user-centered design the first time up? And this was already around 1977. That was coined for the first time. I guess the idea like we use it today was first written down around 1986. But this was a long time. And still, when I was starting my job professionally, that was around 2010, and came to clients and told them, well, if you want to do a great product and you want to be successful, you have to put the user needs as the center. And I thought, yeah, for sure, this is the only way to go. And the reaction was more like, okay, come on, Burkhard, we want to earn money. This is really a romantic idea to think about the user needs. And I really had a long time struggle to convince people that it really makes sense for the companies to do this. And looking back, it kind of made sense because when you look at companies like Microsoft, at that time, maybe a little before, companies like them, they don't really had competition. And when you don't have competition on the market and the business is booming, why do you should optimize for user needs? And that was true for many, many companies when the first app throws up. We didn't have so much choice. So why heavily optimize for the users? You can look at the simple pyramid of needs. When you have no competition on the market, it's really enough to fulfill the basic needs. The job has to be done, yes, and your app or computer or whatever shouldn't go up in flames. It should work and be secure, but that's enough. But it completely changes when you get some competition on the market, especially when you get some competition that puts the user needs at the center. So companies like Apple, we all know this example, they are fully focused on making people's life easier and completely create a loyal community. And on a market like this, where you have a competitor that really cares about the users, then user-centered design or orienting for the user needs becomes a competitive advantage. So this romantic idea of thinking about your customer, thinking about their true needs, becomes real money. And this is where we are today. And I remember this was around 2015, I had the feeling when no one was questioning this anymore. Everybody knew, okay, there is always Me Too for every product we see on the digital landscape. We have a lot of choice. So those win over that put the user centers at the top, the user needs at the top. And for this reason, I read on every designer's portfolio or agency website some kind of this sentence, I or we create digital products that makes people's life easier. I can imagine that many of you also coined the sentence for themselves. And over the last, I guess it was 3 or 4 years, I read some articles, especially blog articles and some books that say, yeah, we have to become a user-obsessed company. We have to drive user obsession. So this optimizing for individual user needs really become an obsession for many companies, and they try to love their customers and users so much that it became an obsession. They objectified their customers. And I guess we all know what happens when love becomes an obsession, then the love breaks. And we have some very big examples. I guess every one of you knows them. For example, Airbnb. They are really a great company and a great product. They started with the idea that you as a customer, as a user, can discover cities in an authentic way. But the product, unregulated, led to people that create this authentic feeling within the cities. The residents can't afford the rent for the cities anymore. We had this in Barcelona, in Paris, so it needed regulation that the product still works. Or we have this in Germany, Gorillas, a very famous grocery delivery app that brings you the groceries in about 10 minutes. They have no regulation how to deal with their dark stores, that's the way they are called, and they are all around the city and create so much noise within the neighborhood. So it's really a pity when you live next to a dark store like Gorillas. Of course, there are some obvious examples with Amazon and companies like this. You find anything, you can get delivered it within a day, and you promote a lot of waste by this. Or when you look at Facebook, especially when they started with their newsfeed, they had a great idea that you get more of the stuff you like, but this kind of idea, without rules, without regulation, leads to self-conforming conspiracies. If people, like the stuff, they get more and more and more of this and get the feeling that this is the reality. So I guess every of the products really had a good idea. They don't want to do something bad, but any good idea, and this is important, any good idea can go bad if you overdo it. So what I wanted to coin is we must stop obsessive user optimization and more take the responsibility for the impact of our products, because all the products also have impact on society, not only on the single users that are using it. And going back to those pyramids of needs, there is this middle, the belonging, that's fundamental for every human being. We all want to belong to each other. We want something that is good for me, of course. In the end, every one of us thinks about ourselves, but we also want to connect to the people. We want a world and products that are good for everyone. And this is something user-centered design, as I learned it, never took into consideration as a concept. And this is what society-centered design, like I like to call it, is all about. The good thing is, I'm not going to present any new model. I guess we all know these established models, and they are great. They are doing a good job. They just need to be a tiny little bit extended. Because, to make it very simple, I don't have that much time today, there is an active user journey, and there is a passive user journey. And this is the whole concept. When you look at this very simple framework, you have active users along your customer journey. And of course, you have passive users that might be affected by your product. Look at the customer journey. Look where you maybe meet passive users, and then also look at their needs. Write them down. Then create your features. And that's the complete magic. I tried to present this to companies for the last 2 years, and the reaction most of the time is, come on, Burkhard, we want to earn money. Yes, we have to save the world, but not today. And I always try to tell them, well, yes, I understand. I also want that you earn money and that you are successful. And going this direction will make you very rich and famous. And I tell you why. Because user-centered design, like we know it today, is at this tipping point. And look at our world today. I'm talking about this for around 2 years. Science is saying that the world is going to change. And I'm not only talking about sustainability, also when you look at our European Western world, our society is changing so fast. We get so much trouble due to energy, war, and all this crisis. Reality is coming faster than we saw 2 years ago. The next generation, the people who are able to vote, are on the streets. So it will not take that much time that in the end, laws will come and force us to do better products, to care about society, to care about our planet. But when we start today to focus on society needs, not only the user needs, also the needs of the society, of these passive users, we create the competitive advantage for tomorrow. And there are many companies who do this today and are quite successful. Look at Patagonia. They have this idea of putting purpose over profit with everything they do. They were the first. They are very successful with this within fashion industry. Or I just learned that the Google Maps team is working here in Zurich. Google Maps introduced some years ago, but now also in Europe and in Germany, the idea that by default you get the eco-friendly route first, not the fastest route. You get the most eco-friendly route as first. And I guess they are also doing this with hotels and restaurants. So a great feature. We don't always have to think about materials, production, physical stuff. Even a tiny feature in your product can help people to do better and to save the planet, to do something for society. In Germany, there is this bank called Tomorrow Bank. Normally, banks, they take your money, they invest it to earn more money, and most of these banks invest their money in nuclear weapons, nuclear energy, stuff like this, where you really earn money with. And they say, no, we only invest in sustainable products and sustainable companies. Of course, they can't win over everyone with this, but as they are more or less the first doing this, they are very successful. So being the first can create a lot of opportunities. I had this project with Bosch. They are doing, for example, dishwashers and washing machines. And I guess every one of you has a machine like this at home, and there always is this eco mode. Do you know this eco mode? It's written on all these panels. And we did a little test and asked users, what do you think, how does your product work when you use this eco mode? And the feedback was, well, yeah, I use it when I have time. It maybe takes a little longer. It's not that intensive. I only use it when I need to, or when I don't care that much about the result. Okay? And then we made a little game and said, okay, we cross the eco mode, we call the eco mode just default, and we create some waste modes. And then we asked again. And we asked them, yeah, okay, what does this waste mode do? And then the reaction was, yeah, maybe this is a little faster, it's more energy consumpting, I think. I would only use it when I really have to, maybe when it has to go very fast or when my clothes or my dishes are very, very dirty. So I try not to use this. And that was really funny because I thought, okay, just by renaming, it's a tiny, tiny little thing we need to do, and just by renaming, we can create a better world. And this is much more easy. We can start with this tomorrow, very easy, to optimize us and to get a little better. And it's also with the next web, which is coming up. I mean, this is very controversial today, but I see a lot of potential when you look at the Web 3, where we give the power to the people that they own their data and can control it even more. I know user experience in the Web 3 today really sucks, but the idea is really good, and I think we have to work on this. Here are many developers and designers. We can create a better world with this. So the final question I always get is, okay, how to start? How can we convince people, and who should we start with? And my learning from the last years is, well, we need on all sides people with a change mindset. We need this when you don't create the product on your own, when you have maybe an agency or freelancer. On the other side, you need people with a change mindset, who are ready to change, who embrace change, who like this, who really like to try. And don't look for others who already did it and are already successful. And also on the customer or on the user side, you also need these people with the change mindset. I think you all know the situation when you come up with a great innovative idea and then you ask some random users and they say, yeah, that's nice, but maybe I stay to the idea that I already know and am familiar with. Well, that's the problem, that most innovation and most innovative ideas get pitched with the wrong target group. And there's a simple model. When you look at a group, a market, this is true for nearly every size of group, that around 80%, a little more, are not open for change, are not open for something new that they don't know yet. They wait for these innovators, early adopters, these visionaries that they try out, and they go further. And the market rule is, when you win over this tiny group of around 60% people and you convince them, the rest comes after, because they see, okay, this is a nice idea, I should try. So the pragmatics and the conservatives always wait for this first little tiny group to try out and to say, okay, this is a good idea. Look at the big tech companies, the big influencers always get the latest features first because they have the mindset to try something new. And they show it to the people, they present it to the people. And when you do some test and learn, try to figure out your target group that is within this peer group, because they give you not this feedback of, I'm not sure, I want to stick to something old. They are ready to try something new. And they are those that can help you to convince people within the company that this is a good way to go. So don't focus on the 100%, don't focus on the 80%, focus on the 16%. So and what we do is, normally when I start with clients, I start with a talk like this to create a mindset and awareness for the topic. And then I can always recommend, when you have an existing product or an idea, think about this customer journey and think about these passive users. Where along our customer journey does our product meet any other users and affect them? And yeah, collect the impact. Do an expert review and give them some ideas. Okay, how could we optimize? Think about these e-scooters I showed where you laughed. They have these features with taking a photo every time when you lock your scooter. I'm not sure if they do anything with this, or if this is just to educating people that they don't throw it just in any corner. I guess that's the reason why they are doing it. Of course, you need some OKRs, and like I said before, you should really focus by testing and learning on the small target group of people who embrace change, who embrace new ideas, because these are the people that help you to convince the rest. And I learned this with sustainability, with innovation, with everything. Talk with this peer group, because they like these new ideas and they help you to convince the rest that, needs a little more time to get convinced with great ideas. So, thank you very much. Nick, we are done.
Okay. Thank you, Burkhard. So get your questions in if you haven't already. I'm looking at the list. I don't see any questions yet. I'll just keep refreshing.
No question.
I'm curious what you think about legislation, like what laws are coming, or what laws do you think might come to help move us in this right direction?
I can only speak for the German market, and there it always takes very long. So we have a lot of regulations. I guess in Germany it's always like we need less regulations to even make it possible to give innovation. But when it comes to services like Airbnb or these grocery services like Gorillas, I think it's really important that they get some regulations, that they shouldn't harm people around. So like how we use our public space, then we need some rules. Because this idea with these e-scooters and bicycles, just throwing them in the city and they are not responsible, they just provide the platform, and what people do with them is their fault. I think this is something which needs to be optimized. But the thing is, I think that companies, when they come with an innovative idea, should already think about this first. And I think laws, they only come after, so we shouldn't even start creating these problems and more come with better ideas when we build a new product and already implement a good solution for society. Because I think people are going to embrace this even more.
Yeah. Monica is asking, how can you mitigate the negative impact of your product if it is inevitable, like the example with the e-scooters? Do you understand the question?
You mean that they are laying around? I guess this is the idea. In some cities, they are not allowed to put them everywhere. Some cities have a lot of parking lots for e-scooters. This is just one example. I guess Berlin is doing this and some more cities. So there need to be some rules. And this always sounds a little stupid because the idea of these e-scooters is very nice, as you can take them everywhere and put them everywhere. But doing a little compromise to create, in this situation, a better city, a more friendly city, maybe helps everyone. And when you have enough parking lots, this could be a very simple rule for this.
Roland is asking, how can we help society to appreciate great design better?
By great design, educating people, creating the better product. So I always like to, when I think back of these times with skeuomorphism, it was necessary that we have design that looks like a real button you can press because people need some time to learn. But over the time, people learn how to interact with an interface and it can go more abstract. We have to help the people that they learn how an interface needs to be interacted with. We shouldn't invent too much new design patterns, but then focus on creating beautiful typography, beautiful colors, creating great brands. People always like this when we put energy into this. And a topic that at my agency we are also trying to foster a little more is making this measurable. So giving companies some measures why good design is performing better. It's a tough topic, but this is something as designers we need to help the companies and find a way to measure this.
Can you talk a little bit? That's also really interesting to me. Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you convince your stakeholders or whatever, your clients, to that investing in design is going to increase ROI, for example?
It's on the long term. So, for example, when we do A/B testing, then we have for the long time a version with the good design and the old design, but this doesn't perform directly. So the struggles when you do, for example, a rebranding is, and I can go back to this slide, when you publish this to the complete user base, these 80% have a problem with change. And I see it in your faces. This is always a tough cookie to coin this, but it's true. Most people don't like change directly. They need some time. And when you just switch it and come up with a new design, people won't go back to the stuff they already know. So do the test with this tiny, more open target group. Show it to them, that they present it to the rest, and then makes a relaunch. So this is a tool, a way that works pretty good. And then you talk to the people who really embrace this change.
Peter asked, this is pretty cool. Burkhard, your talk echoes systems thinking. What types of root cause analysis techniques do you use in your practice?
I didn't got the question.
What types of root cause analysis techniques do you use in your practice? Are you here, Peter? Do you want to clarify what you mean?
Maybe my English is too bad.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the things you were mentioning were really sort of systems thinking and systemic design.
Yeah.
I was wondering, okay, like you always go back, like why don't people use echo mode? How can we change that? And one of the core root cause analysis techniques that designers use is the 5 whys, but the more sophisticated ones. I wonder which ones you use in your practice to dig down into the real causal problems that bring up these behaviors.
Okay, I have to be true. I have some experts in my network that really help me to do this. So I can't do everything. I just have some ideas. And I work together with research experts. So my main focus at our company is really, in the end, creating great design. But for us, it's always good or important, necessary to have a strategic basis. And this is something like in this cases, we try to work with the best experts to get the results.
This is similar to what I asked you before, but Diana is asking, how would you convince the leadership of a company that has already this vision but is obsessed with business objectives rather than user benefits?
Yeah, it's again this unpopular slide that they should focus on a smaller target group. You can't go directly with your whole peer group. Go it this way. It's okay. You say they are already convinced, check. Then do this little research and to get an idea what to focus on. Where can we create some impact? Where can we test and learn? Do this expert review coin some ideas and create some KPIs or OKRs that you can measure the impact of it and test it with a small peer group. This is the way how we do it and works pretty good.
Cool. Maybe just a couple more. Ben Sauer, you're here, right? Ben? Yeah, okay. Just making sure this question is for this room, yeah. Do you have any techniques to help people identify and predict unanticipated negative outcomes?
There's no global rule for this. So for me, this is always something very, very human to do this user journey mapping. And like I said, that when you do this user journey mapping for your current product, and you are very open-minded, then always look for these passive users. This is, for me, the main technique to identify. And you can't identify everything by this. A lot of cases you just see when a product is in use. But just by being open for this and recognizing this and having a tool like collecting these passive users and their needs changes a lot. Because then you have a framework where you can collect it. In current frameworks, you can't write it down. So it's my main experience was that in the end of projects, companies told us, yeah, and now it has to be sustainable, and now it has to have some positive impact on society. And I always thought, maybe this would have been good at the beginning to think about this, and not at the end when we do some marketing campaign for it.
Yeah, thanks everybody for the interesting discussion, and thank you, Burkhard. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you.